Hi, I'm Caleb Giddings from Gun Nuts Media, and for today's video, we're going to be talking about red dots versus visible lasers. For the context of this video, we are only talking about civilian self-defense, and the reason for that is that's what most of my viewers is people who carry guns for personal protection. And as we move into this great, bright future of aiming devices that are not traditional iron sights, I get questions. And one of those questions is, Caleb, if I have to choose between a red dot or a visible laser for my self-defense pistol, what should I pick? And the answer is, it depends, like most answers. Now, real quickly, let's go over a couple of things that are common misconceptions about both red dots and lasers. And the first one of those misconceptions is that it is a crutch, and that if it flies off your weapon, you won't be able to hit anything anymore, you won't be able to aim or something like that. And that's just not true, all right? A lot of red dot sights still allow you to use the traditional iron sights. Lasers obviously allow you to keep using the traditional iron sights that are on your weapon system. And even if you have a red dot setup like the one on this Beretta APX, where I don't have suppressor height sights, there are plenty of other aiming techniques that you can use to get good hits in the event that your red dot dies. So that should cover the misconceptions right away. So let's talk about the reasons that you would want to have a red dot or a laser sight on your pistol. And the first and most important reason is that both of these aiming devices allow you to use your eyes the way humans have been using their eyes for centuries. Guns are weird in that it's the only weapon system we have where we look at the actual weapon system when we're trying to employ it, as opposed to looking at the target. When we were throwing atlatls at each other or shooting bows and arrows, we looked at the target and shot that way. And that is what a projected laser or a red dot sight allow you to do. They allow you to focus on the actual thing that you want to shoot a bullet at instead of having to stare at the front sight of your pistol. And that is a huge advantage because it allows us to use our eyes the way evolution intended us to use our eyes, which is to look at the bad thing that is trying to kill us. So that is right there a great reason to have a red dot or a laser on your pistol. Now, let's talk real quickly about lasers. Because, I'm just going to be honest, not all lasers are created equal. They're not, okay? There are lots of brands of consumer-grade lasers out there, and the only ones, in my experience, that have ever been worth a crap are Crimson Trace. I'm sure Surefire makes some great consumer-grade lasers. I just have never messed with them. And one of the reasons for that is if you are going to have a laser on a defensive firearm, I believe that it should be instinctively activated. And Crimson Trace does a great job of that with their laser grips, like the ones you see here on this 92G. So instinctive activation means that when I draw this pistol from whatever holster it's in and establish a normal firing grip, the laser automatically comes on. I don't have to turn it on. I don't have to flick a switch, press a button, or do anything else to make my laser turn on. And that is really, to me, the only acceptable way that a defensive laser should be mounted to a pistol is so that when I grab the gun, oh, look, the sweet beams are on, all right? And the reason for that is if I have to think to turn it on, I'm a step behind the aiming curve. The point of a laser is that in a situation where I am using my handgun for personal defense, I don't want to think about aiming it. I just want to draw it, put the dot where I want the bullet to go, and make the bad person stop doing bad things, which is why I think red dots have an advantage in that particular area, because with a red dot mounted on my pistol, I don't have to turn it on. It's always on. And this is not the best RMR out there, by the way. The dual illumination RMRs are not really suitable for personal defense or duty use because they're susceptible to washing out in certain lighting conditions, like if you're shooting from a dark room into a brightly lit area, stuff like that. This is on this gun because I used this for competition and it doesn't matter at a match. Anyway, one of the advantages of a red dot over a laser is that it's on. I draw it and it's right there. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I have the dot. I can take the shot. I don't need to worry about whether or not I've gripped the gun perfectly, whether or not the instinctive activation has worked, or if I have a laser that doesn't have instinctive activation, I don't have to think about turning it on. So I think in that particular area, red dots have an advantage over projected lasers. An area where projected lasers, and again, confining this conversation pretty much entirely to Crimson Trace laser grips, all right? So when I say put a laser on your gun, what I actually mean is get Crimson Trace laser grips for your gun. One of the advantages that projected lasers have over red dot sights is twofold. One, they do not require you to get a new holster to accommodate it, and two, they do not require you to change out the iron sights to continue still using your iron sights, all right? I am a belt and suspenders kind of guy when it comes to this sort of stuff. So, for example, even though I know that a Trijicon RMR Type 2 is basically bomb-proof and you can bat it around with a hammer and it's going to be fine, I like to have visible iron sights on my pistol that I can see and use in case something bad happens to my dot. Do I think something bad is going to happen to my dot? No, not really, but I like to have iron sights in case something does. And again, it is kind of a belt and suspenders attitude. I acknowledge that in the modern day, these modern well-made red dots are really, really tough and incredibly durable, and nothing bad is going to happen to them in the course of everyday concealed carry use. But I want my whoopee. I want my iron sight security blanket. And for me, that is an advantage of a projected laser aiming device over a red dot sight, is that I can aim using my laser, get hits. If my laser explodes and starts on fire or stops working or the batteries die or whatever, well, I still have the sights on my gun. And again, yes, there are plenty of aiming techniques you can use if you have a setup like this where you can't see the sights that will allow you to still get hits. You can use the top edge of the optic. You can aim, you can kind of center punch the target through the glass. You can use the back of the slide plate as a gross index. There's lots of ways to do it, but I'd rather do it with my sights. And that is a personal preference. And, you know, the holster thing, obviously, it's not difficult now to get holsters for guns with red dot sights on them, but it's easier to get holsters for guns without them. So in that area, the laser has an edge. So far, we have an advantage to the red dot in that it's always there, it's always on, and an advantage to the laser that it's easier to still use your iron sights and you don't have to get special holsters for guns that are equipped with Crimson Trace laser grips. So, what's the tiebreaker? Well, they also both have the same drawbacks in that if your recoil control sucks, you're going to lose it while you're firing. They have that same advantage that it allows you to stay target focused. But what really shifts it for me is that the laser is a two-way identifier, okay? And yes, damn, I know that if I, as a private armed citizen, am drawing my concealed carry gun and shining a laser at something, I am probably about to shoot the person that laser is being shined at. There's a really good chance that if I, as a private citizen, have illuminated something with a visible laser, it is because I am nanoseconds away from putting bullets into that person. However, it is a two-way street. If I can see my laser on the target, the target can see where that laser is coming from. And they can shoot back at that laser. And I understand that that's a really, 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 really far-fetched concern. Like, I don't think that my house is going to get broken into by SEAL Team 6, and I don't think that I'm going to be getting into gunfights with the sort of people who are doing that kind of stuff. But it's just enough of a concern for me to give the edge to the red dot sight. I think in a perfect world, all things considered, if you are considering or looking at an aiming device in addition to the iron sights on your gun, and your choice is between a projected laser in the form of Crimson Trace laser grips or a red dot sight like the Trijicon RMR, get the RMR if your gun can take it. And that's kind of the thing. If you don't have a gun that you can mount an RMR on, like a Beretta 92 or a Ruger LCR, if you don't have a gun that you can mount an RMR on, but you want most of the advantages of a red dot aiming system, well, get yourself a Crimson Trace laser grip. So, to answer the question, which should I get, a red dot sight or a laser grip? The answer is, it depends. I generally prefer the red dot sight in a perfect world, but I have a lot of guns that you can't mount them on, so I own a lot of laser grips. I'm Caleb Giddings. Thanks for watching.